Call it an evolution or a revolution, these ladies are the queens of the ring. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 female wrestlers of all time. For this list, we'll be ranking the most popular, influential, and skilled women grapplers from the world of professional wrestling. We're going to narrow our criteria to stars who have competed in the WWE for now, meaning that legends such as Japan's Manami Toyota will have to be saved for a separate list. Number 20, Awesome Kong. It's been one hell of a journey for Kia Stevens. From her early days competing in the WWE under the name Karma to her current run in AEW as the formidable Awesome Kong. She honed her skills in Japan and the Indies, working with promotions like Shimmer, Impact, and Ring of Honor, always impressing fans and colleagues with her natural athletic ability as one of the industry's more agile heavy hitters. As if that wasn't enough, Stevens even found time to work on her acting chops with the Netflix series Glow, starring as fan favorite, welfare queen Tammy Dawson. Number 19, Bayley. She may be heel on the current WWE roster, but there's no denying how impactful Bayley's babyface run was when she was down in the company's developmental territory, NXT. It was there where the California native helped forge her legacy as one of the company's 4 horsewomen, thanks to her natural charisma and personal connection with the audience. The classic underdog tale of Bayley's quest for the NXT Championship was a true Cinderella story, something that will likely serve as a defining period for this WWE superstar's career, especially since her time on the main roster has been rocky to say the least. Number 18, Victoria. There wasn't a lot of room for actual women's wrestling during the WWE's Attitude or Ruthless Aggression eras, with many matches being either too short or sexualized to truly showcase what female wrestlers could do in the ring. There were exceptions to this rule, of course, such as Lisa Marie Varon, who competed under the name Victoria for nearly 10 years around the turn of the millennium. She started her career as a bodybuilder, but she advanced quickly enough in the wrestling business thanks to her natural athletic ability. Notable feuds with Trish Stratus and Molly Holly would follow, while her reigns as WWE's Women's Champion showcased her impressive balance of character, mic skills, and in-ring prowess. Number 17, Natalya. The wrestling business can sometimes be a family affair, with multi-generational superstars entering the squared circle to add their family legacy. Natalya is one of those wrestlers, the first third-generation female to work in the ring as a member of the iconic Hart family. Natalya's grandfather was the legendary Stu Hart and her father Jim the Anvil Neidhart, but she's never used these names as an excuse to hide any sort of shortcomings in between those ropes. Instead, Natty has done the family proud as a performer who possesses both the technical skills of her uncle Bret the Hitman Hart, as well as a personal flair all her own, developing a strong connection with the crowd, with a number of strong babyface runs. Number 16, AJ Lee. Give divas a chance. This was the rallying cry decreed by one AJ Lee during her time as a WWE superstar in a 2015 tweet that helped cement a women's revolution. It didn't happen over one day, but instead as a reaction to the short, inconsequential matches that historically populated the Divas division. AJ Lee helped elevate the Divas title during her lengthy time at the top, giving great matches that were interesting on their own technical merit, while also presenting a brash, bratty character that fans both loved and loved to hate. It was Lee's willingness to challenge authority and smash a real-life glass ceiling that helped forge a path towards greater equality in the WWE Women's Division. Number 15, Molly Holly. Athleticism seemed to come natural to Molly Holly during her time in the WWE, with her powerlifting and gymnastic background helping her shine as one of the company's most likable female wrestlers. It didn't matter whether she was a Holly cousin, a superhero, or even a sourpuss stick in the mud. Molly always rose to the occasion. The woman-born Nora Greenwald was great on the microphone, at ease with changing character tropes, and always able to bring it in the ring. Fans can even find her making the sporadic, nostalgic WWE appearance to this day, usually as a guest in the Royal Rumble, and she's always a welcome sight. Number 14, Luna Vachon. Sometimes a valet, sometimes a manager, sometimes a wrestler. Luna Vachon was always a unique and welcome sight. She belonged to the famous Vachon family, and styled her most famous gimmick as a mohawked maven of destruction, unstable but always ready to rumble. Wrestling just seemed to be in Luna's blood, and she always gave her all to the business, no matter what she was called on to do. Her visual style was cultivated under the taskmaster Kevin Sullivan, and seemed indebted to punk metal priestess Wendy O. Williams of the Plasmatics. But the years would eventually see her work as a lovable babyface in the WWE as a member of the Oddities. Simply stated, Luna Vachon was one of the best. Number 13, Mickie James. Mickie James' middle name is Laree, but another fitting one could have been Gold, as this esteemed women's champion has held straps across numerous companies for years. Call her a TNA Knockouts champion, a Divas champion, or Women's champion, but most of all call on Mickie James when you need to see a solid match. Mickie is reliable, personable, and charismatic enough to carry almost any gimmick and get it over, while her in-ring skill is exciting and extremely fun to watch. She may not work today as much as she used to, but she has nothing to prove, and instead has shifted much of her focus to country music. Is hoping she sees as much success there as she did in the ring. Number 12, Paige. Paige is the only women's wrestler on this list to have her life story adapted to a movie at the young age of 27. Of course, the woman born Saria Jade Bevis seemed to be destined to enter the professional wrestling business, as it was literally a family affair. A teenage Saria jumped headfirst into her family's wrestling promotion, even competing against her own mother in the process. It wouldn't take long for the talented young woman to make a name for herself in the WWE, becoming the youngest Divas champion of all time after defeating AJ Lee in her main roster debut. Although injury would cut Paige's career prematurely short, her legacy as an inspiring women's wrestler is certainly secure. Number 11, Wendi Richter. A list like this is bound to feature some of the modern day's most impactful superstars, and deservedly so. But what about those who paved the way? Wendi Richter was one of those women, an exciting superstar from the rock and wrestling connection of the 1980s WWF scene. Her quick pacing and flamboyant in-ring persona made her an instant sensation during an era when women's wrestling was largely considered to be bathroom break material. Of course, her storyline association with music megastar Cyndi Lauper didn't hurt things any, but it was Richter's skill in the ring that also helped her make her name that's synonymous with women's wrestling to this day. Number 10, Sasha Banks. We touched upon NXT's 4 horsewomen earlier in this list, and it's time for yet another name from that iconic stable to make an appearance. Sasha Banks. The Boss absolutely dominated during her time in NXT, having instant classics with the likes of Bayley, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair. She continued her winning ways on the main roster, although it admittedly hasn't been an easy road for her character. Creative issues and Banks' tendency to sound a bit awkward on the mic have served as slight stumbling blocks over the years. But the Boss is best when she's shooting from the hip, kicking ass, and taking names in her own brash and cocky style. Number 9, Beth Phoenix. She was known as the Glamazon, a towering force in the women's division during her time in the WWE. Beth Phoenix benefited from her amateur wrestling training, utilizing her size, strength, and style to perhaps serve as the company's most fearsome women's wrestler since the 9th wonder of the world, Chyna. Not even a comedy pairing with Santino Marella could slow down Phoenix's career as a WWE powerhouse, until she voluntarily quit the biz in 2012. She would eventually return to the company after being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, appearing as a commentator and occasional performer whenever the need arises. Number 8, Becky Lynch. Quick, somebody send for the man. Becky Lynch has certainly come a long way from her earliest days as a professional wrestler in her native Ireland. A quirky steampunk gimmick in NXT and the WWE's main roster would earn Lynch the love from the fans, but still the company's highest honor seemed to elude her grasp. That was until the man came around, and Lynch was reborn as an ass-kicking, name-taking renegade cut from the mold of Stone Cold Steve Austin. And she hasn't let the fire die for 1 second, holding on to both fan interest and her killer instinct as a company champion and legit women's wrestling phenomenon. Number 7. Alundra Blayze. If Wendi Richter was a star for the WWE's women's division in the 80s, then Alundra Blayze stepped up to the plate throughout the 1990s. That isn't to say Blayze got her start during that decade, far from it, as the woman-born Deborah Ann Michelli had already cut her teeth as the mighty Medusa in the AWA and WCW. Medusa could pretty much do it all, and do it with style to spare. She was super talented in the ring, could cut a promo with believable ferocity, and come across like a legit badass. And that's honestly because she was, and to this day, an industry titan whose work in both the USA and Japan can be studied by young women searching to break into the business today. Number 6. Asuka. Truth be told, Asuka didn't need the WWE to make her a star, as she'd already earned plenty of accolades in her native Japan. Of course, the warrior formerly known as Chyna enjoyed a hugely raised profile once she made her way stateside and debuted in NXT under the name of Asuka. It was there in the WWE's developmental brand where she forged a crazy undefeated streak that continued right on through to her main roster career. Sure, all good things do come to an end, and Asuka's treatment since that streak has been spotty, but the company did do right by the character by pairing her with Kairi Sane as the Kabuki Warriors, even giving them the women's tag team title belts. Number 5. Charlotte Flair. Speaking of Asuka's undefeated streak, it was this woman who finally put an end to that impressive run of 914 days at WrestleMania 34. Her name is Charlotte Flair, and she truly comes from a thoroughbred stock. Her father is wrestling icon Ric Flair, but don't think for a second that Charlotte is living in anyone's shadow, as this future Hall of Famer does just fine on her own 2 feet. That's because she possesses all of her father's gifts: athletic skill, the gift of the gab, and most importantly, an inherent understanding of the business, while updating them with her own unique style. She truly is the queen of women's wrestling, a constant main event draw, and one of the most legitimate talents in the biz. Charlotte Flair makes it look too easy. Number 4. Bull Nakano. Bull Nakano is more than just a legendary woman within the squared circle, but she's also managed to make a name for herself in another sporting world, namely that of professional golf. Make no mistake, however, as the woman-born Keiko Nakano has been devastating opponents in the ring since the early 80s. Nakano worked best as a heel, physically intimidating her opponents with her terrifying presence and impressive strength. If you're looking to catch Bull's best work, it's best to check out her time in All Japan Pro Wrestling, but WWE fans can also benefit from watching her feud with Alundra Blayze in the mid-90s. Number 3. Chyna. She was the 9th wonder of the world, a game-changing figure when it came to shifting the paradigm of women's wrestling in the WWE. We're talking, of course, about Chyna, who rose from a valet position with D-Generation X to become one of the most accomplished and beloved performers of her era. Joanie Laurer smashed through so many glass ceilings, making history by winning the Intercontinental and Women's Championship, and by working in the Royal Rumble and King of the Ring matches. She was great on the mic, had a character that evolved with time, and absolutely dominated during her days at the top. There will never be another one like her. Number 2. Lita. We're entering the apex of our list now, the cream of the crop when it comes to women's wrestling. Lita seemed destined to be a star right from the get-go, utilizing her time working in Mexico's CMLL to her benefit when she entered the WWE as a valet to S.A. Rios. Her star quickly eclipsed that of her protege, however, thanks to her striking looks and supreme athletic ability. That it factor became only sharper and more honed with time, especially when she was a member with Team Extreme alongside the Hardy Boys. Add to that a legendary feud with Trish Stratus and a Raw main event to die for, and you have one of the all-time greats. Before we name our number 1 pick, here's some honorable mentions. Jacqueline Moore, Alexa Bliss, Michelle McCool, Ronda Rousey, Naomi. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Trish Stratus. If you followed pro wrestling at all for the last 20 years, then you probably know by now which name takes our number 1 spot. Trish Stratus wasn't born a great wrestler, but her story is one of hard work, determination, and the drive to exceed all expectations. It would have been easy for Stratus to coast in her eye-candy role as a valet for the tag team of T&A, but instead she worked on improving her in-ring skills to the point where she was basically bulletproof. Trish Stratus simply couldn't be stopped when she was at her peak, nor did she disappoint when she returned from retirement in 2018 to compete at the Evolution All-Women's pay-per-view event. To quote commentary legend Jim Ross, "There was never anyone any better." Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.